So let me just start by saying, I love Nintendo games. I haven't been reviewing a lot of them on my channel. I hardly ever play any. I mean, we have Octopath, but that's about it in the ways of Nintendo games. So, this is me giving a shout out to one of my favorite game series of Nintendo, other than Kirby, of course, because Kirby is my fucking boy, and no one will ever disrespect my boy while I'm in the room. But regardless, that's not who we're here to talk about today. Just Fire Emblem, but Fire Emblem Heroes in particular, this time. This is going to be a new series I'm starting up, where we look into the character of certain series, and find out who they are, what makes them tick, essentially just giving you an overview of a character, in case you may have missed something about them. And so I thought, who better than in this little mobile game that actually has a decent story, surprisingly, because it's a Nintendo game, so of course it has a decent story. But who better than the eldest princess of Nifl, the ones the flames took away from us. You got that right, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about the voice of dreams, Gunnthrá. Let's hop in, shall we? Alright, before we can talk about Gunnthrá and who she is as a person, let's talk about her name and the origins surrounding it. In order to do that, though, we also have to talk about her kingdom, which is the kingdom of Niflheim. Niflheim is connected to Norse mythology, similar to Gunnthrá herself. Niflheim is an underworld of darkness, of cold and darkness. It's one of the 9 worlds in Norse mythology. Niflheim is also near Hell, which is, in this case, Muspel in Fire Emblem Heroes. So already, we have strong ties to Norse mythology just from her kingdom alone. But on top of that, her name has even more ties to Norse mythology, because Gunnthrá is one of the 11 ice waves, or the Elvagir, in Norse mythology, that go to Gunnthrá, or the beginning of the world. And just a little excerpt here, a quote. The streams called ice waves, those which were so long, come from the fountain heads, that the yeasty venom upon them had hardened like the slag that runs out of the fire. These then became ice. And when the ice halted and ceased to run, then it froze over above. But the drizzling rain that rose from the venom congealed to rime, and the rime increased, frost over frost, each over the other, even into Gunnthrá, the yawning void. So, Gunnthrá has heavy ties to frost, to ice, and to Niflheim, which is the underworld of frost. Which is just really cool. It's a nice little touch that everyone from Niflheim as well is connected to those ice waves. Because of the 11 ice waves, Fjorm, Hrid, Gilgr, and Gunnthrá are all part of the ice waves. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail about Gunnthrā's siblings, because that is a whole other video in another day. But just the fact that all of them have a connection to the ice waves, it's a nice touch, and it's a cool nod to Norse mythos. So, yeah, that's the origin of Gunnthrā's name. Alright, now we're talking about Gunnthrā's personality. And this is an interesting thing. So Gunnthrá is the eldest sister of the Niflheim's royal siblings. She's the oldest one of all of them, and she is almost the mother of their group. Granted, the queen of the Niflheim's kingdom is still alive, at least says so in Fire Emblem Heroes. However, we do not actually meet her in the game. So Gunnthrá has taken up the mothering role. Gunnthrá, generally when she interacts with anyone in a series, she's always talking in a calm and soothing voice, always being in gentle tones, never yelling.
Nifl, the kingdom of ice, is bitterly cold during the winter. As children, my sisters and I cuddled as we slept.
She's also one that never panics. So on top of being the caring older sister figure, we also have the gentle, soft-spoken woman, as well as one who rarely raises her voice. Pretty interesting so far. Or maybe pretty generic, depending on how you look at it. However, that calmness carries over to insane levels. For example, spoiler warning, by the way, for Fire Emblem Heroes, if you care. Chapter 7. In Chapter 7, Book 2 of Fire Emblem Heroes, when you finally are to meet Gunnthrá, Surtur has beat you. Gunnthrá was ambushed and brutally burned alive in front of you by Surtur. But instead of caving and telling Surtur about the plan, which would ruin everything, she refused to do that. Being set on fire again in front of everyone. And instead of, panicking that she's going to die, instead she simply turns to her sister and tells her to live and seek happiness. And then, with the last bit of her strength, she gives the summoner, or the player in this case, her remaining power, telling them to follow the light before she succumbs to her wounds. So instead of panicking that she's going to die, she is leaving on death's door, talking and comforting others. Literally, she is being burnt alive, and she's talking to others, telling them not to worry, to live. That is true dedication, and that just shows the love she has for her siblings. Speaking of love, though, let's get into Gunnthrā's abilities and some of the feats she pulled off. Gunnthrá is not a physical fighter. All of her siblings are. She is the weakest of them when it comes to physically fighting. However, to make up for this, she is one of the strongest, if not the strongest, magic caster in her kingdom. And on top of this, her bloodline is so strong that she can use the Voice of Dreams. That is also her title. Now, the Voice of Dreams is something all the Niflheim siblings have. However, Gunnthrá has an even stronger connection to it. What this is it lets you communicate with people in their dreams. Generally, when you're asleep and they're asleep, you are able to connect with them in their dreams and talk to them. Now, all the Niflheim siblings can do this. However, only Gunnthrá is the one that can remember these conversations vividly. She can remember the person's name, what they look like, everything. All the other siblings, on the other hand, will just have a vague remembrance of what happened. They will not remember the person, what they look like, or their name, and they will barely remember the surroundings or what they talked about. But Gunnthrá, having such a strong connection to the Voice of Dreams, allows her to perform the Rite of Dreams with the Summoner. Now, before I go explaining this, I think I'll allow Gunnthrá herself to explain this.
Oh, Summoner. Sweet Summoner. Yes, it is I, Gunnthrá. We first met in a dream. At last, we are united. As you may remember, I can't speak to just anyone using that right. Once I establish that link, I can speak to just one person for my entire life. And to make that connection, I have to pledge myself to them from the very depths of my heart. I can tell that you understand what I mean, Summoner. When we first spoke, I knew almost nothing of you. Yet, I pledged myself to you without hesitation. Oh, don't fret. I would never hold that over you, even as a joke. If there is anything I can ever do to help you, just say the word. It would bring me tremendous happiness.
So as Gunnthrá just kindly explained for us, the Rite of Dreams is swearing your everything to that one person to form a permanent connection with them. That means Gunnthrá swore her heart, her body, and her soul to the player just for her kingdom, with no regrets. If that's not true determination to save your family and your kingdom, I honestly don't know what is. So on top of being one of the most skilled spellcasters of her kingdom, she's also willing to sacrifice everything for her kingdom via the Rite of Dreams. And that to me speaks volumes about her character. But I think that's it for now. We have covered the chapter that is Gunnthrá. If I have missed something, by all means, please tell me in the comment section below. But I hope that gives you a little more insight into Gunntrá's character, who she is, what she does, and just her in general. If you guys want another video like this, by all means, tell me in the comment section down below. I'd love to make more episodes on more Fire Emblem Heroes characters, especially the ones that are only in that game, who have not really been fully fleshed out yet. But that being said, I've been your host, GSmith64. If you like this content and you're new to the channel, hit that like button, comment down below, and subscribe. And by all means, huge shout out to the artists that let me use their art in this. Their links are in the description down below. And on top of that, huge shout out to Sheena over on Fiverr. Link will be in the description below, for doing the voice of Gunnthrá. That was huge. Mad props to her. That was amazing. And yeah, that's it. See you guys next time.